Hello everyone, my name is jixin, and I'm honored to be here. Today I will be discussing critical economic concepts and how they implicate the real world. This concept is relevant to our ongoing discussion at this Australian Conference of Economists. First, in this presentation, I will be covering the following topics. First, I will discuss the impact of consumption taxes on consumer and producer welfare. Next, I will delve into the effects of tariffs on imports and the differences in debt weight loss. Third, I'm going to explore how generative AI might influence inequality in the labor market. Fourth, I will explain to you the potential effects of generative AI on productivity and output. Lastly, I'm going to discuss the consequences of the fat tax on health and economic growth using directed acyclic graph. Welcome and let us begin. First, let us look at how consumption taxes impact consumer and producer welfare. Here, we have a basic supply and demand diagram showcasing the consumer and producer surplus before any tax is imposed. The blue shaded area above the supply curve and below the price level represents the producer surplus, while the yellow shaded area below the demand curve and above the price level represents the consumer surplus. When a consumer tax is introduced, it effectively shifts the demand curve downwards by the amount of tax to D2. This leads to a new equilibrium price and quantity. Consumer surplus shrinks because the tax reduces the purchasing power. It's now the yellow shaded area between the tax-shifted demand curve and the new equilibrium price line, extending towards the curve's intercept with the price axis. Similarly, the producer surplus shrinks because they receive a lower price after the tax is deducted from the consumer price as depicted in the sky blue shaded area. The orange triangle represents the debt weight loss, which indicates the loss of total welfare due to the tax. This DWL occurs because the tax reduces the economic activity by disrupting the markets. So next, let's explore the impact of tariffs on imports. In a closed country that do not import, the supply and demand curve remain stable as represented by P0, EO, and QO. However, that can only happen in a theory. A free trade market without tariffs, the import will lead to lower price, and customers will buy more as represented by P1 and Q1. The imports will only favor consumer by increasing the surplus. However, they will reduce the domestic producer surplus. When a tariff is imposed, it raises the price of imports, leading to a decrease in quantity of import. The aspect decreased the consumer surplus, represented by the green triangle. However, it increased the producer surplus, as represented by the red shining line between P2 and the supply curve. The government collects tariffs. However, as seen, the tariff leads to debt weight loss, as shown by the yellow shaded triangle. Now let us compare the similar to consumption tax tariffs also create a debt weight loss. However, the nature of the DWL differs. Consumption taxes primarily affect the demand side. The tax effectively reduce consumer willingness to pay, shifting the demand curve downwards. They reduce economic activity, lead to debt weight loss. With tariffs, the DWL arises from the inefficient allocation of resources. Part of the loss comes from reduced consumption and part from the inefficiently higher domestic production. So let's now turn our attention to generative AI and its potential impact on inequality in the labor market. The first scenario is where generative AI could reduce inequality. Here we see a labor market diagram where the demand for skilled labor increases due to AI. This results in a more equitable distribution of income and opportunities. The wage rate increases from the original equilibrium point as the demand for labor increases. The potentially reduce the income inequality. The second scenario is where generative AI could exacerbate inequality. In this diagram, we can see that it declined in low-skill job opportunity due to automation. The wage rate decreased from the original equilibrium point as the demand for low-skill labor decreases, potentially increasing income inequality. The income gap widened due to job displacement and low wage. Moving on to productivity and output. Generative AI has the potential to boost productivity, and shown scenario 180 to AS diagram. A rightward shift in the aggregate supply curve represents increased productivity, leading to higher output and lower price. The economic experience grows as AI technologies streamline process and reduce costs. However, there's also a scenario where generative AI might leave productivity largely unchanged. In this case, the AD to AS diagram shows no significant shift in the curves. There is no productivity gain resulting in little to no impact on overall output. Finally, let's how we could use directed acyclic graph to assess the health and economic growth consequences of a fat tax. DAGs are graphical representation used in econometric to model causal relationship between variable. DAG illustrate the potential pathways through which a fat tax could influence the health outcome and economic growth. The fat tax node is linked to health outcomes through reduced consumption of unhealthy food, and improved health outcomes are linked to higher productivity and economic growth. In summary, we've explored how consumption taxes and tariffs affect welfare, the potential impact of generative AI on inequality and productivity, and the use of DAGs is in assessing the consequences of a fat tax. Each of these topics highlights important economic mechanisms and their real-world implications. Thank you for your attention. Any questions? Thank you.